Get the stream links up on social media here. Get started in just a second. All right, hello everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Live One Special Live Edition. It is Tuesday, January 25th, 2022. The big news today is, of course, what's happening right now, the announcement of this year's inductees into Major League Baseball's Hall of Fame. It's the last time on the ballot for Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, Curt Schilling, and Sammy Sosa. Obviously, for Bonds and Clemens, there's absolutely no outcome that isn't going to leave a great number of baseball fans unhappy. You just can't tell the story of Major League Baseball. It's history, for good or for ill, without them. And messing with history, especially when it's done by a group entrusted with writing it for all time, that's bound to engender bad reactions, one way or the other. And here's the thing. History is not all sunshine, rainbows, and heroes. The majority of it is nuanced, complicated, and ultimately disappointing and sad if you're someone who subscribes to idealism. In fact, really, history, when you think about it, is made up of mostly villains. People who rise to prominence don't usually have it thrust upon them. They aspire to it. And they usually do it out of a motivation of self-interest rather than altruism. So here's just my personal take. Make a wing of the Hall of Fame that's dedicated to the steroid era. Enshrine Bonds and Clemens, McGuire and Sosa, A-Rod and Ortiz, Gary Sheffield and Rafael Palmeiro, all the edge cases who would undoubtedly be in but for their association with performance-enhancing drugs. Give them their own display in a special segregated part of the hall that provides everyone who comes in to look at it the proper historical context. Now, as for Curt Schilling, the man deserves to be in. He's deserved to be in for years now, and but for his politics, he would be there, and literally everyone knows it. You look at the list of the 4 starting pitchers who played their entire careers during the steroid era like he did, the concentration camp for pitchers that it was, Tom Glavine, Greg Maddux, John Smoltz, and Mike Mussina. Schilling has more World Series rings than any of them, the best career whip out of any of them, more career strikeouts than any of them except for Maddux, a better career ERA than Glavine and Mussina, more career wins than Smoltz, despite the fact that he played for a crappy Phillies team for the first half of his career. A World Series MVP and an NLCS MVP, none of the other 4 pitchers have both. You simply cannot make the case that those 4 men belong in the Hall of Fame on lifetime numbers and achievement, and Curt Schilling doesn't. It's an absolute joke, and it's all about politics and the fact that he's an outward asshole and makes no apologies for it, pure and simple. Anyways, expect that announcement to drop any minute now. I've got the MLB network on mute over here. If there's any kind of news as I'm broadcasting here, I'll let you know. In other news, Sean Payton has announced, probably unsurprisingly, that he's stepping down as head coach of the New Orleans Saints. This is good for both parties, honestly. It's time for that franchise to finally turn the page from that era. Payton, of course, the winningest coach in Saints history, will forever be tied with the career of Drew Brees. Together, they put together one of the NFL's consistently best offenses year to year and sustained it for well over a decade. They won the Super Bowl in 2009, but they were always just like one of the second-tier teams in the league after that, usually finishing with around 11 wins and then bowing out in the second round of the playoffs. Peyton's under contract with the Saints for 3 more years, so if he does want to return to coaching one day, it's going to have to be a couple of years from now. Frankly, I think he needs the break. We were 2-1 to start the week last night. It's Tuesday, so it's another huge night of college basketball. We've got some NBA and NHL on the slate. Let's get right to it, and we're going to start in the MAC with Kent State and Western Michigan. This Western Michigan Broncos team may be one of the worst basketball teams in all of D1 right now. It's rare to see a team in a mid-tier conference like the MAC rank outside of the top 300 in both offense and defense, but that's the Broncos, and they're particularly bad on the road. This is an offense that averages 59 points a game and a defense that averages 86 points given up per game on the road this season. That is epically bad. Kent State, the Golden Flashes, not world beaters by any stretch of the imagination. They're sitting at 9-9 right now, and they're just coming off an embarrassing thrashing at the hands of Buffalo. But they are so much better than Western Michigan. There's just no contest. The line opened up at Kent minus 12. For some reason, it's been bet down to 10.5. Take advantage of the public stupidity here and grab the home team laying the 10.5 points. Moving over to the Big Ten and Rutgers and Maryland. This Rutgers team, I'm telling you, they're just different at home. 10-1 straight up, some really impressive victories at home, 6-4 against the spread. The Scarlet Knights are coming off dropping a heartbreaker to Minnesota on the road in a game that they stayed step for step for the entire way and just tragically made a boneheaded foul at the end of the game to let the Gophers go up by 2 possessions. Just wasn't enough time to make it right. Meanwhile, however, they did go into Maryland's house a couple of weeks ago and solidly beat them in the second half. This is a must-win situation for Rutgers to keep their tournament hopes alive ahead of the brutal stretch of games against ranked teams that they have to play all through February. They know it. They're going to come out as strong and as polished as they possibly can. Maryland are losers of 5 out of their last 7. Their tournament hopes are done, and they have nothing to play for on the road here except pride. I think Rutgers wins this one and covers the 3.5 points. I'm taking them. Down to the SEC and number 2 Auburn, coming off arguably their biggest game of the season, topping Kentucky at home on Saturday. Now they have to go on the road to face a Missouri team that's been way more competitive and tough to beat at home than their 8-10 record indicates. This is a big line here of 13 points for Auburn to cover, and it's a classic letdown spot for them, I think. Just way too big of a number to cover. Missouri has only lost by more than 13 points once in their last 27 home games. You're getting great value here with this line. Auburn wins this game, but I think Missouri keeps it uncomfortably close. Take the home team plus 13 points here. Over to the Mountain West and Wyoming and Boise State, and it's rare that you can snag a 15-2 team in college football as a 5-point underdog in any situation. The Wyoming Cowboys go on the road tonight with a 6-game winning streak against the 15-4 Boise State Cowboys, in a game that will go a long way to determining who wins the Mountain West. Wyoming has looked a little shaky in their last 2 wins, which is probably the reason for the line. The Broncos haven't lost a game since November 30th, but it's worth noting that each of their last 4 games have been decided by 8 points or less, so they've been the beneficiaries of some really good luck. In fact, they just in their last game against San Diego State on Saturday, they managed to score just 42 points, but still won by 5 points in what was just a crazy defensive slugfest. I think with how good and solid a team Wyoming's been on the road, you'd be crazy not to jump all over them getting this many points. Even if they lose straight up, they're likely to keep it very close all game long, so I am taking Wyoming plus 5 in this spot. And finally, over to the Big 12, I'm just... Kansas State and Baylor. Kansas State's a plus 14 underdog. I'm just betting a lot of dogs tonight. I usually like them in conference play, especially in a spot like this. Kansas State has been hanging tough with the top tier of one of the 2 toughest conferences in college hoops this season. The Wildcats have been have a couple of wins over ranked teams, and they came just within an eyelash of beating Kansas on Saturday. They have covered the spread in 4 out of their last 5 games. Baylor has stumbled a bit and has lost their last 2 games straight up on their home court as favorites. This is not the Baylor team you saw earlier in the year that looked like they were a solid lock to make the Final Four. Baylor wins this game tonight, but the Wildcats are going to cover this insanely high number. I'm taking Kansas State plus 14. So over to the NBA, and the game that I'm looking at tonight is the West Coast game, Mavericks and the Warriors. Taking a look at the total. Over the past 2 weeks, the Dallas Mavericks have been the best defense in the NBA, holding opposing teams to just 102 points a game over that span. They're going to be taking on a Golden State Warriors team that even without Draymond Green is still 6th ranked overall in defense in the league. These two met on January 5th. And put up a 99-82 defensive slugfest. There's absolutely no reason to think that we are not going to see a repeat of that tonight. Even without Draymond Green, you got to give me the under 210.5 here. These 2 teams are going to be playing really, really tight. And last but not least, over to the NHL. And I'm betting this because it's a surefire bet, but I don't like it, and I'm probably not going to be watching it. The Flyers and the Islanders, taking a look at the total here tonight of 5.5 goals. This might be the single worst Flyers team I can remember in my lifetime. They've been mediocre forever. I've gotten used to that. Never this bad, at least not in my conscious memory. I know a couple of those teams in the early 90s were pretty bad. That's how they wound up with Eric Lindros. But this team has gone from the 4th best offense in the NHL to the 4th worst in a span of 2 months. Meanwhile, the Islanders, you know exactly what you're getting with them. Tight defensive play, not a lot of shots on goal, winning it on the margins. 7 out of the last 8 Islanders games have gone under the total. You really can't set it low enough for me with how badly the Flyers are playing on offense. Give me the under 5.5 goals. Sadly, I smell another 3-1 finish, just like we saw with the Flyers and the Stars last night. That's going to be it for me, folks. Still no news. David Ortiz, actually, just breaking, has been elected to the Hall of Fame class of 2022 with 77% of the vote. So there's your signal right there, folks. The forbidden door of the steroid era has been opened. And if David Ortiz is in, I think it's a surefire thing that Clemens and Bonds are in. But we're going to see in just a couple minutes. Make sure you're watching the MLB Network right now. Everyone, bet safe, stay safe. Follow us on Twitter at Live One Sports. Check us out on Roku and Fire TV at the Live Ones. Have yourselves a great Tuesday night, and I will see you tomorrow.